Chugga 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 ch. Choo choo. KEKFILA TCG. It's a great day here at KEKFILA's YouTube channel. I am the KEKFILA, and today I have with me Saucy. How are you doing today, Saucy?
Pretty good, Gek. How about yourself?
Doing good. I'm glad you have a blue shirt on today, because today the video is purely about OPO7 Doffy. Doffy heads 7 warlords in the game, and the main reason I called you, I literally texted Saucy, good morning, honey. Can you show up in my video to talk about Doflamingo? And he's like, yeah, 9 o'clock. All right, sounds good.
Gladly.
See you at 9.
Yo, I'm over here trying to build a time machine to 3 months from now because my body is ready for set 7, man.
This video had so much content that I actually had to break it up into 2 videos. Please use the timestamps down below to navigate through this. The first video will be Saucy and I going over all of the cards and kind of giving our ideas and thoughts. And the second video, which will come out soon, will actually be us constructing the deck list and going card by card. And it's kind of a beautiful thing to see a deck come together, actual deck building. So without further ado, let's get into the goo.
I'm excited.
That's great. Side note, it's always a thing. We're waiting for the next set. I'm sure when OPO7 comes out, we're gonna be waiting for OPO8. Just how the game goes, but it's nice that we're waiting for OPO7 now, especially with the nostalgia. Doesn't it feel good that Doflamingo feels like nostalgia now? Like,
I know, right? It's so crazy because it's only really, if you think about it, it's only really been a year, right? And since set 1, but these cards that have come out now is literally the cards that we were like dreaming about in set 1. Like, man, I wish Doffy had another 6K body that would like draw a card, but that might be too crazy. And then like down the road, boom, we got it, and then some. But I'm sure we'll go over that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And all these cards on here, there are a few other cards I'm going to mention because I couldn't get the image for them. But essentially, there's a long list of cards. We'll go over some of the abilities. We're actually going to even make a deck list, even reference a deck list we've seen, and kind of come up with an idea. But I do want to say the landscape of Doflamingo, we have to be thinking at the time of OPO7, what are you going to be seeing at locals, right? Because I mean, you're going to take stuff to locals first before you take it to your competitive places. What are you going to be seeing locals in OPO7? I know Dragon's going to be a deck. Vegapunk's going to be a deck. Foxy's going to be a deck. Boa, you'll see Boa Hancock. You're going to see other blue Doffys at your locals. They're going to see them.
Yeah.
And
of course, let's not forget the classics. You got your Sakazukis, you got your Enels, a sprinkle of Whitebeard here and there.
Yeah.
Maybe that solo film kid that's been playing it for months.
Uta. I do want to say,
and Uta, of course.
I do want to say it's really important to know that this is pre-ban list. So if there's a ban list that comes out in Worlds in March, we don't know about what that is yet. So that could totally affect this list. They could ban Dracul Mihawk. We don't know. So that's that's sort of the case, right? So, or they ban.
What do you think is the blue card that's most in danger of getting banned?
Oh, dude, Houndblaze. But that doesn't Houndblaze. Yeah, that's the most dangerous blue card. Does not affect this deck at all. So
I'm okay with this. I'll be honest. Houndblaze is pretty degenerate, but
yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna take a shot and say probably either Rob, Lucci, or Rebecca. That's
well, those are black cards. So
the obvious choice. Oh, you're right. My bad.
Yeah.
I did say blue.
Yeah.
Blue, there's not a whole lot really. I guess.
I mean, like Sanji's really good. I'd be honest, but like ban worthy. Don't know about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. I don't think they're banning anything from set 6 because it's just too new. It's gonna hurt their.
They might ban BIGGecko Moria.
Bottom line.
That might be a ban. The 8 cost. So.
I thought of that, but I feel like Bandai as a company, they want to make that coin. They're gonna be like, let's not ban that. It's coming out.
Yeah.
We're gonna ban the things that he grabs. from older sets, but
oh, that's cool. I think a restriction would be cool. But with that, we're gonna go over this. We're gonna go over every card option and talk about maybe 2, 3, 4 of, and then we're gonna make an actual deck out of this. If you guys don't know, I basically just have this weird editing software. This is not anything crazy. I just put images on here. And I'll even write down if this is going to be a 4 of, 3 of, and we'll customize this as we go. But I'm actually going to save this real quick. Save as Doffy 1 list. So this is kind of like what we have in mind. We're going to go over every card, and then we can just talk about specifically, like, you know, your thoughts. Go back
we have
to
translations.
this. I do have the translations in my head. So that's the beautiful thing. I'll go over each card so you know you don't have to read anything. Okay.
We'll have to trust you on these effects because
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly all of them.
Well, we're going to go over every card that I think it's important, but then you can bring up a card. I didn't put Sanji on here. I didn't put 10-drop Kaido. Obviously, I think those are cards you can maybe include. I'm just not including them specifically for this because I kind of want to run more of a wide build. But that's something separate. I think those are both really good cards that maybe you should look into.
I think Sanji's noteworthy enough to put in the build, but you
100%.
know, not everybody's gonna be running it either. So.
And actually, my argument with Sanji is why use Sanji when you could just use leader skill and then do something else. Yeah, that's the thing. Like you can go. I mean, Sanji is wide, right? But then you have to play more setup. I don't know. I think it's actually it's probably really really good, to be honest. So like I can't really argue about it.
Already deck checks. I think it's worth running. Plus you already run the Mihawks anyway. Might as well just throw them in there.
Well, you may not run a lot of Mihawks in this build that I'm thinking of, especially if you're trying to go pure wide. I have a strategy. I always say never half-ass 2 things, whole-ass 1 thing. And with the metric of where this is, if you want to play big bodies, play a deck that plays a lot of big bodies. Play Queen, play whatever. Right, but if you want to play a deck that plays a lot of small bodies that goes wide and then actually has pure advantage, you can play this and then even annoy your opponents. And I did want to mention a card in actually OPO6 that's coming out, and that's this pudding at the top right. This is going to be somewhat of a game changer, especially in blue mirrors. And what this does is it makes it so your opponent has to put their whole hand into their deck, shuffle their deck, and then draw 5 cards. So it mulligans only their hand into their deck. So it can disrupt the top of their 5. If they have more than 5 cards, they've lost a card. They've lost a card out of the whole thing. They lost all that value.
More than 5 at times.
Yeah.
If you're playing into Whitebeard and they got like a 12 card hand, you play that card.
Yeah, exactly. If they have 7 cards, boom, play down pudding. It's detrimental. If they stack their deck and you know that's going to be annoying, place this down. If they're playing Queen and they have 0 cards in hand, place this down. Now they have 5 cards in hand at the end of your turn, so they can't heal. Well, they may not be able to heal.
True.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if that's the case, like if you're forcing them not to heal, they have to draw like 5 cards. Like, oh shit,
that's a risky play. But most people they don't complain about drawing cards unless you're doing like post battle phase, maybe like right after they like craft their hand, and then you just play that and just mess up their next turn. I can see that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. If you mess up the top of the opponent's deck, it's going to really frustrate them. I'm sure in mirrors, this card's going to be so funny. Like you're gonna like actually the fact that this card exists, you have to play around it. Even if your opponent doesn't actually play the card, you have to play around it. It's like Purple Law. Even this card,
I guess that's one of it's true. I guess it's one of the reasons why a go wide strat would do well, because even if they play that card on you, your density for warlords is so high that you can just swing blind confidently anyway and get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, also the chances you see a Searcher or a Doflamingo. So with that, I'm going to go over cards we maybe already know. We have Perona. Okay. Top 5 Searcher. I'm kind of low on Perona. I actually keep her as a 2 of right now, but she's obviously really good. Really good in your opening hand. Good going first. Has a 1k counter. Really has no downside. I just find placing her is a neg because you have to place her and then she just sits there. If it's like you're discarding a card, right? Almost in a way, because she just sits there for most of the game, and sometimes you may even call over her.
It doesn't give you any immediate value, but what she offers is that early deck check that you need for your second turn's leader swing, which I think is why she's still a useful card. And in certain decks that run the Sanji, it's also another way to set it up, but depends on the build mainly.
Yeah, I agree. With that, next we have Sengoku, card you don't know. It's just a top 5 7 Warlord searcher. It just splits up any card that says 7 Warlord, adds it to hand. Obviously, Sengoku's not a 7 Warlord, so it can't grab itself.
And if only it was, man.
Yeah. The bad news is it doesn't keep cards on top of the deck. That's the bad news. The good news is I think because this card exists, you can actually drop Perona down lower, play this card, and look for the 3-cost Doflamingo, the Searcher. That is my thought process out of all of this. You play this, you search out the Searcher, and then if you already have this top 5 Searcher, the blocker, you actually don't even play Sengoku anymore. You just play down a Doflamingo. You could, if you have enough Dawn, maybe you can play down the Searcher and then Doflamingo. Right? That's an idea. But
it also it's a good way to bottom deck certain cards. If you're not hitting any Warlords, if you know the top 5 cards of your deck isn't going to help you, you could just play the Sengoku, bottom deck the top 5, and then reset into something new.
I mean, you can always bottom deck top 5 again with your that card too, or maybe you can have, maybe there's only one card that's good, you know, in that top 5. You can use off leader skill, then play Sengoku.
That works too.
Yeah.
The
possibilities are endless. Now, the 3-cost new Doflamingo, if you guys don't know, essentially they just kind of put Doflamingo skill into a main for him. It's just, it doesn't require any Dawn. Well, you have to pay 2 Dawn. And you look at the top card of the deck, you call 7 Warlord, that's a 4-cost or less. It calls out as rest. If it's not a 7 Warlord, it goes to the bottom of the deck. That is essentially the thing. It doesn't have like an on attack, but you know, for 5 Dawn, you can play this, you know, pay 3 and then pay 2 to like play the top card of your deck, which is pretty good.
Yeah. Basically, for the cost of 5, you're playing 2 bodies, which is insane. And if you get another one off the top, you could pay another 2 to play another card off the top.
Holy shit, I didn't think about chaining these guys.
It doesn't say Doffy. So you can literally get Doffy 3 times off the top and continue to play more bodies. It's insane.
Silly. That sounds really silly. Actually, it's definitely better than like a STMoria, if you remember STMoria.
A
while ago. But yeah, this card is pretty good. Unfortunately, it does not have a counter, but maybe we can make up for that with some new 2K counters, which we'll go over later. Obviously, the 3-cost blocker Doflamingo, that's just one of the better cards in blue as a whole. And definitely a 4 of in this deck. Kind of just makes the deck you can't play without it, and it's just super valuey.
Agreed. Definitely a must-have.
These 2 cards are like the quickest, like, okay, I don't have space to play these, so let's not play these. Right?
Yeah, I really think the Kuma Pacifista engine have kind of been power crept out with all the new toys that we got for OP07. I really don't think the Warlord build now will have much use for them. Just no room.
I agree. However, if I ever do find room, I'm going to test it because this is a strong combo against anything that KOs. Against anything that bottom decks, it sucks. So
yeah,
that's
unfortunately.
That's where that is, and it's the best deck in the game. Bottom decks, that sucks. So, with that, the next cards I'm gonna look at this row is the 2 BIGGecko Morias, the 4/6, very good. I think it's a solid. The thing is,
agree.
The room is really tight right now. All this room is super tight for cards. This card may be one of those cards you can't bring 4 of, right? Maybe it's a 3, right? But
yeah. We'll have to see what we're at, like count-wise, as far as Warlords are concerned. But I still see value in having a 4 for 6K. Like being able to play a 6K off your leader swing is so much value.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can play it off of more than just your leader swing, which we'll go over in just a moment. But I think it's a really good addition. On top of, I'm actually going to skip it to EdwardWeevil here. It's another 4/6, which is just draws you a card. Now, the fact that it doesn't have a counter kind of lowers the value of it. You actually have to do a little bit more math when stacking your deck now to make sure you don't like do your stack because you draw a card from this. But drawing a card's really nice, and it's a 4-cost 6K, which means we're definitely going to try it, right? I definitely see a world where you play 4 and 4 of both of these.
I would definitely run 4 of the Weevil before I would run 4 of the gecko, but if I could run both, I would run both. Eight altogether, 4 of each.
Got it. Now, I'm actually going to skip a little bit to the 2K counters. We have Jekyll Mihawk, right? We've always had the same Jekyll Mihawk. He doesn't do anything really important. He's a 2K counter. He says 7 Warlord. He's a 5K body, which is pretty good.
Need.
That's
2K
really
counter,
good.
7
That's
Warlord.
really good. However, now we have 2 7 Warlords that actually have a skill on them. Yep. And we have Crocodile. I believe when he's placed, you can pay 1 to put a 2 cost either from your field or your opponent's field and put that to your hand. So you can put like a Perona or Sengoku or your opponent's small cards to their hand. Not that big of a deal. It's definitely better than the Mihawk, right? Probably just counter fodder. And then the Law,
it has value though.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you can bounce a Perona or Sengoku to your hand. You could reuse your deck checks, and also it's good into like certain low costing decks like Law and Zoro that we were really kind of like struggling before. Well, not so much Zoro, but more so like Law, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's 2K. You know, why not?
Yeah. With that, we have the Trafalgar Law, the 2K counter. His body's a 4K, so that's a bad part of it. This card is getting an alt art as well, which is quite interesting because I actually didn't like his skill at first. If you guys don't know his skill, it's
what you didn't like his skill.
I'll go over why I don't like it. It's very easy to play around. It's very easy to play around. That's why I don't like it. So his skill is you could just activate it main. You can return it to your hand. So that's good. It's just doing that by itself is actually good in itself. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you can play it off of your leader skill. And now you have a 2K in your hand for free. Well, pay for 1. So it's like drawing a card with extra steps. Okay.
Pretty much.
And then the other part of the skill is your opponent has 6 or more cards in their hand. They must put 1 card from their hand and put it to the bottom of their deck. Your opponent, number 1, gets to choose. And the most important thing is, let's say I attack for 7 with my leader, and I reveal this on the top of my deck. My opponent just sees that and says, okay, I'm gonna discard down to 5. Right? And so now that they just attack it for 6 and then it dies, because you're not gonna defend that the next turn. And then you're like, oh damn, that sucks. Because you're probably just gonna put it into your hand right away anyway. That's
a fair point.
That's why
the way I think of that is like, yes, it can be played around, but with the right sequencing, you can actually set yourself up. Like if you leader swing first and you still have like 2 other swings and they discard a 5 or something, it's like, okay, I'm gonna swing 7 now with other things, and now it's gonna be even harder. You know what I mean? So there's certain ways to kind of counteract that as well.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it's a fun card, and it's a 2K counter again. Like, if I were to build the deck in OPO7, I would probably try to cram as many of these 2Ks as I can in the deck.
That's why I got you. I like 2K. Your version of Doflamingos because you play extra 2Ks. That's just what you like to do. And I think,
I love my 2Ks.
I think for this version, it's better. So
yeah, definitely with the new Warlords, like it's so much better. It's so much value when you're able to just grab whatever selection that you want of your 2Ks from your discard with Moria, and then you just have more counters in your hand.
Good segue. Gecko Moria. Now that we have more 2K counter selection, I think Gecko Moria's value just went up.
Oh, definitely.
I definitely wouldn't reduce this guy. I kind of thought about it. Can we make room for this guy? This guy's good. Oh,
MVP, man. He was value before. He's value now. Like the card is nuts.
Yeah.
And I will get into it more because I do have my ideas with Moria, especially with the new Jinbe. We'll get into that. But with just the cards that we are looking at right now, like there's just so many more options now that you could use Moria for. Like if you get Moria off the top and let's say you have the 3 cost, the new Doffy in your discard, you could just grab it, add it to your hand, replay it, and then like play another body. So it's like you can go wide so much faster with the new build. Pretty insane.
Now to go over the God card. This makes everything. Jinbe. The
Goat.
god, is he the sun god? I don't know. He's this is good. This just make
Oh
this guy the
man,
leader
Jinbe
at
the
this point.
goat.
The Doflamingo, whatever. I'll put Jinbe up here. He's the leader. Okay. So
Mhm.
if you guys don't know, on play, you play this guy, you can play a
Okay.
7 cost, a 7 warlord that's a 4 cost or less from your hand, and it's standing. It's not rested, it's standing.
Insane.
So
Insane.
if you guys don't know, there's another card that does something exactly like this. Okay. It's Brook. Brook does the same thing, but it costs a 3 cost or less from film. That Brook card makes any green film deck work. That makes the deck just work, and it's broken. Now, in this deck, now you can call a 4 cost. There's so many good 4 costs to call. Like, this
You try your whole
the
deck.
whole deck, yeah. On your 4 Dawn turn, you just play this and then play down an EdwardWeevil. Play this, play down a Gecko Moria. Play this, play down whatever it is. It's nasty. It's disgusting.
Imagine like a dream scenario where you have a Moria in your hand and another Jinbe in your discard. You can literally like get a Jinbe off the top, play the Moria, grab the Jinbe from your discard, play the Jinbe, and if you have another Moria, play the Moria, and then if you have another Jinbe, it's just insane, man. There's so much like
Moria
insanity.
the Gecko Moria Jinbe combos
Bro, you
are
can put the
blowing
whole board
my
in
mind.
like one turn. It's insane, and for little to no cost. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. You're gonna be spitting. We're gonna be spitting facts and spitting creatures out the whole time. A couple more cards to go over, right? Get Boa Hancock, the 4 cost blocker. I think having it as a 4 cost blocker is nice. This card is never really felt too good because it just gets removed. But if it stays on board, oh god, is it like the best card you've ever played with ever in your life? So, I would say I'm probably going to keep in the build until I find a way that I really don't want it, because it literally is a magnet for just getting removed.
Removal.
Right? But this card stays on the field. It's beautiful, and even better, there are some good events here that I want to bring up here in a moment. But these events are really good. But we'll go when we get to the event section. We'll bring that up. Now,
go
ahead.
As far as Boa is concerned, I think that she's gonna be really like. I'll be honest, like I love this card, but man, there's so many new options for the deck, and like you said, she is like a huge target a lot of times. But there's no denying her value. Like she still draws you cards. She's still a blocker, which I think is very important for our deck. Like we need bodies that can actually block, and without the Kumas, we have less blockers than ever, right? So definitely worth considering, but I wouldn't say that she's like a mainstay in the deck, you know?
Yeah. I actually really agree with that sentiment, because this card also causes frustration where it just does nothing. But I definitely say test it and see how it feels, and then take it out, put it back in. So,
Definitely.
Yeah. The next card actually is Dracul Mihawk, just your big body that removes a 7 cost. I feel like removing a 7 cost or less isn't as big as a deal anymore, because most things are 8 costs, and it's going to be really, really frustrating. And being a big body is nice, so it's nice to have that big body, but it kind of it makes a good flow for Doffy, but I don't know if it's good enough for what Doffy wants to do anymore. I personally would have to do some testing to see if I want to add this or not, but for now, I think I'm going to add at least 2 to the deck. Considering that it's a little more searchable from Sengoku, it's okay to run less.
Yeah, I see value in Mihawk if you're running the Sanji build, because then at 9 Dawn you could get 2 9 cost out and bottom deck a 7. That is like so much value. But just playing the 9 Hawk alone, it doesn't feel as good as it did in set 1. Just because decks nowadays can do so much stuff. Like if you look at Sakazuki, playing the 1 Gecko on 8 is so much value. Like it's just hard to compete with that kind of value when you're just playing a 9 for 9k and just bottom decking a 7.
I agree.
But I'm sure we're gonna get to my favorite card now.
The Boa Hancock?
Yeah.
I forget the exact skill. Do you remember the exact skill?
Yeah, so her ability is actually an on-play ability. You may target a character card that's not named Luffy, and that card can't attack until the end of your opponent's next turn.
It's character, and it has nothing to do with leaders, right? Just characters.
No, it's a character. So on play, you choose a character that's not named Monkey D. Luffy, and they can't attack until the end of your opponent's next turn.
Okay. And it's a 6 cost 8K
It's
body.
6 for 8K.
I think it also bottom decks a 1 cost too. So.
Oh yeah, it does actually.
Yeah.
I need to. It does. I believe it's a 2. It's a 2 or less.
Oh, I thought it was a. Yeah, you looked that up. You looked that up for me. I'm pretty sure it's a 1 cost because there's other cards that like do 2s. Right? Yeah, there's a 5 cost that does 2. But the stun is pretty good. There is a lot of Monkey D. Luffy's out there, but more often there isn't. Right?
We kind of figured though, right? Like Boa would be doing something like that.
I
There's
mean,
like
why is Monkey D. Luffy just have the pure "don't touch me"? You know, oh, a Nell. Okay, yeah, there's a Monkey D. Luffy on the field. Can't do it, man. But
yeah, if you know the answer to that,
has that ever came up to you? By the way, has that ever came up in a game?
What?
Where they had a Luffy on the field and you played a Nell?
Oh, all the time, dude. Because my friends all play like a lot of players play Law in my area. So every time I play the 7-drop, they'll like go 5-drop Luffy, and I just cry. Cry my heart out. Because nothing works.
That's so funny. Yeah, but anyway, Boa Hancock stuns. I have to do some testing with it. Obviously, the AK body's huge. The fact that it can get removed because it's only a 6 cost sucks, but the stun's pretty good. I wouldn't call it broken, but I guess I can. Oh, I could see it as being pretty broken. Like if they have a really big card out, right, and they can't attack with it, that's pretty broken. Think about it.
Okay, so you're right. It's place. So on play, one of the second effect is place a cost 1 or less character to the bottom.
Yeah. It's also combined with if you playing Boa Hancock leader, because if something gets removed from the field, either you or your opponents, you can draw a card. Yeah,
it's not bad. I think this card plays well into one of your worst matchups, which is Law. So she's playable into that matchup. Her ability is really useful if you like play it right after they play a big body. And also she's a 6 for 8K, which is like a vanilla stat line with a relevant ability. So the fact that she costs 6 makes it so that you can use your leader skill and play her, which is good. Which is great. You're like playing 2 bodies that are huge and you're still getting effects off. So I think she's worth trying out at the very least if you're not a fan.
I agree. The next cards I want to talk about is actually the events, and there's probably a few other ones I'm not including, like Love Mellow, but essentially we have first Gum Rain, which is just an extra 2K counter, and obviously we are playing a lot of cards in the deck that don't have counter. If we're playing Jinbe, EdwardWeevil, this Doflamingo, and if we're playing 4 of each of those, that's 12, right? On top of maybe even Mihawks and Boas, that can be upwards and over like 20 non-counter cards. You eventually have to play Gum Rains or cut these non-counter cards. Actually, no, Jinbe's a 1K counter. Never mind. Jinbe just got a lot better. Okay.
Jinbe's 1K, yeah.
Oh my god, this card just got better and better and better. Side note as well, the fact that this Jinbe exists, it doesn't let you play another Jinbe. Now you just don't want to play the Treasure Cup Jinbe. I think there's not a lot of good 3 cost you bottom deck anymore, right? So it's okay that card doesn't exist anymore in this deck. Plus,
it's not an essential card in the deck. It's more of just an option, I would say.
Yeah. You might still see it, but it's so let me see here. So if you're playing like 4 of these, 4 of those, that's 8. No, I guess maybe you wouldn't play Gum Rain. Maybe you can play like 1, right? But that's my thoughts. I know you're not a Gum Rain lover, but what are your thoughts?
Personally, I am not a huge fan of Gum Rain. I feel like the deck, the way it is right now, it's already gonna be difficult to slot in cards into the deck. I feel like that slot would be better suited for other things.
Sure.
But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. It's essentially just an extra 2K counter. That's my thought about it, but you can't grab it with Gecko Moria, so it's downside.
Yeah.
With that, 3,000 worlds, we have removal, right? It's very simple. I think removal is still good. Really good out of trigger. However, there are a lot of things you'd rather be doing with our turn than removing like a 5 cost most of the time. I always like to say, whole ass one thing, don't half ass two things. If you want to play removal, play Sakazuki. You know, that's my thought. And then
Agreed.
Gum Red Rock, I could see this being played because of some big cards that come out. What are your thoughts on both of these?
I think they're solid options. I would have to agree with you on your sentiment about, just being as efficient as possible with the Dawn that you have available. I think for the cost of 4, if I had the choice between like bottom decking a 5 or less, or let's say playing like a Jinbe and a Moria and grabbing a 2K and also swing for 7, mind you, all for 3 Dawn. Like, it's tough to validate just playing a 3,000 worlds at this point in time. So I do see value in it, but I don't think it's that good anymore in the new Doffy build. Now, as far as Red Rock is concerned, it falls into a little bit different category, especially with the way the deck kind of wants you to build it now, where you're trying to go low to the ground and going wide. You really need to have another option to like remove big bodies. Because if your opponent gets to the late game and sticks like say I don't know, like a 10 mom or like something huge, you need to find a way to remove that, or you're gonna lose pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Yeah, especially with all the 8-drop kids that are now being that you see being ran into green decks. You really need to find another way to remove it, because unfortunately, even with all the new cards that we have, the deck still sucks into the 8-drop kid, which is actually pretty sad.
Yeah, that I agree with that. It does have that problem, but Red Rock solves that problem. So having one of them might work out. I know it's not a 7 Warlord card, so you can't exactly search it, but if it exists in your deck, you have that option, and making preparation plus opportunity, right? That's luck. And yeah, the next card I want to go over, it hasn't been shown yet. It's in, I believe, OP06. I call it the card that makes you put your opponent's deck back into their deck box, right? It's I believe this is like the coolest thing I've ever seen for a card. It is Gravity Rageblade Tiger, and it is the 7 cost event. It just bottoms 2 6 costs. I think it has a trigger effect. They can bottom deck a 4 cost or maybe a 5 cost on trigger, but it just bottoms 2 6 costs, which is pretty good. On one of your turns, paying 7 to remove 2 cards, actually good tempo. I could definitely see a world where you have one of these in your deck.
Yeah, I think it's just like Red Rock and Thousand Worlds. It's a great option for the Doffy deck. If you have room for it, definitely, worth slotting in like 1 or 2 of them. You never really want to slot in more than 2, in my opinion. But it's definitely an option for the deck.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. And then next, we actually have some 2 big cards. We'll go over to the less influential one. And there's another card that's kind of like this, but I like this card a lot, and I'm bringing this one up. It's Slave Arrow. What this does, it actually has a cost, and it's cost 1, but you have to put one of your cards that cost 2 or higher. It has to be a cost 2 or higher back into your hand. So you have to put a card back into your hand.
Oh no! I get about 2 or less.
Yeah, and you get 4K counter. And I think this is really good in Boa, right? It's like very.
Is it a Warlord card?
I think it is, because it's Boa. Right? It should be a warlord card, right?
Yeah.
However,
I'm sure later on we'll be able to double check, confirm this if it's just a Kuja Pirates card or
could
a
just be a
warlord.
Kuja Pirates card. You could be right,
But dude,
putting
insane.
a card back in your hand, it puts any card that's 2 or higher to your hand. So you can like
2 or higher.
2 or higher. 2 or higher. Okay. Yes. So it can't be like a 1 or less. It has to be a 2 or higher. So you can put a 4-cost Jinbe back in your hand. You can put a BIGGecko Moria back in your hand, the one that draws you a card, right? Just in case you need that. You can even block with Boa. Draw a card with
or
Boa.
you could just
use the
troll
event,
it up.
pick up another card. Like,
yeah.
I
see some value in it. I'm sure you could troll some people and like play it, like let's say you played a law off the top and they just like left it there and they swing into your face, just like bounce my law back. Boom. Now I got a 2K in my hand. Counter for 4.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you just use law skill, but you could do that with
I know, but
any
you
card.
can like troll people, like I said, just like leave it and be like,
exactly. But my main thing I'm thinking of is like you can even like block with your Boa and then draw a card by using that and pick up a card. But
and then bounce the Boa.
Or even you can even just bounce the Boa, which I'm not sure if that's a good idea. But it's just an idea. Or bounce a different card they were going to attack. Obviously, you can pick up your pudding with it. It has no limits. You can play another Boa Hancock because this is not a bad card to play.
Actually, that's really spicy. It's kind of like going off of what you're saying, but you're just giving me ideas here. I'm gonna bounce off what you said, right? Let's say they have Kid Leader. They swing at phase for 12K. You just block with a Boa, draw your card, bounce the Boa to hand.
That's what I was thinking too. It's a free block. It's back to your hand. The attack fizzles. It's perfect.
I love it. I like the way you think, Kek.
Yeah, I think it's really
or
good.
Block the Doffy, bounce it to hand. Hey, value.
Yeah, exactly. If they swing for too high, that is. Generally, people aren't swinging for higher than 9. And it's a sneaky 1 cost counter. So you don't have to have 2 up, which you can even combine this with like a Draco Mihawk, right? So that's
it's great. You know what? If you're running this card, it may actually warrant, and this might sound kind of crazy, but you can run some spice and run like the 2-cost Usopp that deck checks. It's Perona effect, but on a 2 cost. So you can literally like bounce in and do another deck check, but you know, you can't beat a 1 cost deck check from Perona. It's like
exactly. Plus, those Usopps are really expensive. Just got to get your hands on them. Not yet. Not soon. They'll be more available. But
for all those high rollers out there, y'all want to roll up some spice. That is one thing you can.
And then I think the big card that's like, now we actually have a finisher event, which is this Femur. It's the exact same, pretty similar to Diablo Jinbe. It selects a 7 warlord. It can be your leader or character. It does give it 2K power, which is great. This is great that it gives 2K power because it does cost 2, costs more than 1, right? Than Jinbe does. And for that attack, your opponent cannot activate blockers. So it will go through blockers, finishing your opponent. And, generally, you could probably put this on any 7 warlord, and you're going to be swinging for big, right? And, yeah, it just sounds funny to me. Like you don't even care like bounce a blocker to their hand, right?
What's the trigger do? Curious.
Oh, it draws a card. A lot of the cards just says like draw 1 card, so you can like trigger it, just draw 1.
Oh, that's great.
So it just cycles itself. Like, oh, I don't need this card, so I'll just do that. So that's
great. I think this card it's amazing, and it pays a tribute to what the deck kind of wants to do now. I said this from the very beginning. The deck really does remind me of like a blue Zoro deck. And that's kind of like how Zoro closes out the game, right? You go wide, you go do as much damage, and then right when you peter out, you just Diablo Jinbe swing the face. Same concept.
You could Diablo Jinbe swing 16 with lead. That's it. So
yeah, pretty good.
Or maybe
I love this card.
What
is it? Plus 10. So 15.
Ooh. Yeah, I like it. Or if you have any other card, just do that too. But
Right.
I think
Swing with
it's
Kuma.
beautiful. Definitely an instant 3 of, maybe more. Thank you all so much for watching that video. Be tuned for the next video tomorrow where we just go over the entire deck and make a deck list and go through our thoughts. I'll also provide a couple more cards on there that we didn't go over. But thank you all again so much for watching the video.
Well, hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video. Ciao.
Chugga 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 choo choo. KEKFILA TCG.